Steelers Nation, it is that time once again. It is AFC North Football Week. It is Bengals Week. It is Bungles Week once again, man. We all know what happened in Week 1. One of the most wild overtimes that Steelers Nation has suffered in quite some time. And believe us, we've been through a lot of overtimes recently. A lot of wild ones. But that Week 1 matchup was something. But 10 weeks later, I can say that both teams just aren't that same Week 1 team. They're not.
No, they're not. Based off of record-wise and performance on the field, as well as the injuries that has taken toll on both teams, on both sides of the ball.
Yep. And even the Bengals, right? We came off a bye before beating the Saints at home. Now the Bengals are coming off a bye themselves, and they have to travel to Pittsburgh for what is our second straight home game, and hopefully we can get 2 straight home victories. Maybe possibly even sweep the Bengals. How about that? This season's really much of a rebuild. It's going to be one of those years where we look back at it and it's just Tomlin's first losing season most likely, and it's Kenny's rookie year, and it's just one of those where we got to get through the tough years to hopefully get to the good. But if there's one positive I can take out of this year is maybe we could sweep the Bengals. And that'll be the one good thing out of it, especially after what happened last season where the Bengals, in great fashion for them, swept us.
Yep.
In brutal fashion for us. So what good would it be for us to get back at them and sweep them after they were AFC conference champions? And they're still trying to get back to their ways of that. They are 5-4 right now. Like, they have their great victories versus, the Panthers, and I think they beat the Falcons and teams like that, but they'll get blown out by the Browns on Monday night a couple weeks back as well. So they're still one of those up and down teams. But one thing I can say is the Bengals, in their second half of the season, coming off a bye and in a very stacked AFC conference, they're going to try their hardest to get more victories.
And go figure, the first game that they're going to have to try to accomplish their goal of theirs is to reach the playoffs and continue their reign as AFC conference champions is against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Again, at Heinz Field. They have some momentum. The Steelers have some momentum after a pretty solid victory, very good team victory versus the Saints. A little inconsistent, arguably very ugly from the Steelers. And you got to wonder, are they going to take some of that momentum and fix on some certain issues for this matchup against a much better team in the Bengals?
Yes.
I will say this about the Saints. They are a poor team. They're going to be dead last in their division. They were going through many injuries, and we honestly left so many points off the board. We won by double digits, but we should have won by more, honestly.
Yeah.
And those are the mistakes I want to see the Steelers hopefully provide on and improve on, although I know for sure they're not going to because there's not much change with this team even after last week's victory, even after the bye week. There's just not. There's still inconsistencies. They still get conservative. They get up by a lead, and then you just fall asleep. They're still very inconsistent on offense. Kenny Pickett is still trying to find his ways as an NFL quarterback and still go through those rookie hoops and those rookie hurdles. So there's still going to be issues as we go on week to week, even against the Bengals, who, let's talk about their defense a little bit. Their defense is still pretty solid. They're going through a couple injuries now. Chidobe Awuzie was just placed on IR a couple weeks back. Their front seven hasn't really been that much great since DJ Reader was put on IR, but I know he was just designated to return, so it's likely he could return, and then he'll have to try to slow down a Steelers rushing attack that's trying to find their way to remain consistent, which I don't know if they can. Last week was a fun game to watch for the Steelers rushing attack, but it was also against a very hurt front seven in the Saints.
Yeah.
And the Bengals front seven is much better because they're more healthy. And they're probably getting Reader back. And they're probably going to have Mike Hilton back. We all know what he's like in the nickel.
Yes, he is.
And he's a phenomenal football player in every way possible. So he'll probably come back for this one. So we're going to have a tougher challenge when we talk about the Steelers offense versus an NFL defense in the Bengals.
Yeah.
And, of course, I mean, for our defense versus Joe Burrow and his team and his offense, we know what happened week 1. We got 3 interceptions off him.
4
interceptions.
4 interceptions.
In week 1.
Yeah.
4. Now,
and like 8 sacks on him. So the defensive performance on Joe Burrow in the Cincinnati offense when they had Jamar Chase in that game was fantastic.
Right.
And it was great.
And Joe Burrow's still trying to get used to life without Jamar Chase because He's not on IR, but I don't know if he's going to return for this one. They might save him for next week's game for the Bengals. I don't know if they're going to rush Jamar Chase. He had the bye week to try to aid the injury a little bit. We'll see what his participation is in practice. He might be limited all week. We'll see. I'm not sure if he's going to play. If not, they're going to lean a lot more on, of course, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and, of course, Samaje Perine, Hayden Hurst, and obviously the main guy that they're really running with, the guy that's coming off a great week versus the Panthers before their bye, Joe Mixon. He had 5 touchdowns versus the Panthers.
Yeah.
And our rushing defense is still a little questionable. Now, we have T.J. Watt back, and we saw the rushing defense last week was much better. It was more alive, and the impact T.J. Watt was seen immensely for that, as was for a lot of the defensive performance. So they're going to have a big test here against Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon, which, again, the Bengals aren't what they were last year. They're trying to get back to that. But I know in the second half of the season, they're going to want to etch that to get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not going to be an easy battle. This is going to be an AFC North battle, possibly another very defensive game. This is probably going to be very much like Week 1, where it's just going to be back and forth, crazy action. It's probably going to be another heartache, as we can anticipate, as many of these games are, especially with the way these two teams are playing right now. The Steelers are definitely trying to improve on week-to-week performance.
Always been the thing with the Steelers. They can't remain consistent on both sides of the ball.
No.
And go up against, even if they're not going to have Jamar Chase, going up against a fiery, hot, still Cincinnati Bengals offense, the main priority to me is to stop Joe Mixon.
Yes, and force the ball into Burrow's hands because, we got 4 picks on him in Week 1, and we're not even going to have Minka Fitzpatrick in this game. But DeMonte Casey's probably going to have to step in for him again, and, of course, he was a very, very, very nice fill-in last week coming off of IR himself. Now he's going to be a little more conditioned in the starting lineup for this one, I would imagine. So I still trust Casey in filling in, and I hope these young guys still continue to step up in the secondary. Guys like Wallace. We might get Witherspoon back. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know if the Steelers are going to put him back in the starting lineup. That's probably not the smart thing to do. But guys like Millette got to keep making plays. Guys like Wallace, Sutton, the entire secondary got to come to play, even if Chase is or isn't playing.
Yeah.
But like Rob said perfectly, the main key is to stop Mixon. They're going to run with him to lean off of Burrow a little bit.
And the Steelers' run defense last week against Alvin Kamara was very good. But they're going up against a better running back, at least in today's NFL, and Joe Mixon.
Right, in a more healthy offensive line. So this is going to be an interesting test for the Steelers' defense. We saw what they did Week 1, but again, this is a different Bengals team.
Yeah.
This is a different Steelers team, too. But we have T.J. Watt back, so I'm still confident that the defense can make plays and give the offense good position to score and get points and win us the game. It's just the offense, can they take advantage? They did a little bit last week, just not as consistent as we'd like them to do. And we don't really anticipate them to be consistent even in this game, even throughout the rest of the season, and possibly a little bit into next season. It's just we got to ride with what we have with a rookie quarterback and still a very questionable running game, which we'll see if they can feed off of their performance from last week. We sure hope they do. That would be a great thing to watch is after 200-plus yards on the ground, after Najee Harris almost had 100 yards on the ground himself, can they feed off that performance and replicate this game against the Bengals, against a better front seven? This is going to be a good test.
Yes, it is.
Can the offense
provide?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Can they provide? Can they go out there, take advantage of what the defense potentially gives them? Can they get points on the board? Can Matthew Wright, our kicker for the next maybe week or so, depending on how he plays,
right,
can he get points on the board like Boswell can? Because Boswell, despite missing a couple field goals in Week 1, he's the main reason why we won Week 1.
Why we have our first victory
But now we're not going to have Boswell in this game. We're going to have Matthew Wright, and he missed 2 field goals last week.
Yeah, he did. And I think we can anticipate this being highly defensive. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting. I'm feeling a little good coming into this game. I definitely think we can absolutely pull off a dub. It's just a matter of if the Steelers want to show up at Heinz. It's a 4:25 start Eastern time. It was supposed to be Sunday night. They flexed it for obvious reasons. It's going to be under the lights, so this team needs to show up at home. This team needs to show a little more consistency. Can they get back-to-back wins? We haven't got that this year. When they've gotten a dub, they haven't really provided the next week.
No.
Can they do that with back-to-back home games? against an AFC North rival and try to sweep the Bengals once again after what they did to us last year. I'll take that. If that's the biggest thing I can take away from this season, I would take a sweep from the Bengals. Who doesn't love a good sweeping of the Cincinnati Bengals?
Against the reigning defending AFC Conference champions.
The defense needs to play hard. They need to slow down Mixon, definitely get the Burrow, replicate the Week 1 performance. And truthfully, man, the offense just needs to provide. They need to be a little more consistent. I'm not anticipating a great game from the running game because they're facing a better front seven. I'm not anticipating a great game from Pickett. I'm going to anticipate the same thing that we always anticipate from the Steelers offense, and hopefully they surprise us. It's as simple as that. But hopefully we pull out with a W. But that's the preview, folks. Let's know your guys' thoughts down below. Do you see the Steelers completing the sweep? Do you see the Steelers winning 2 in a row? Do you see the Steelers winning back-to-back home games? It's as simple as this. They got to take off the energy and the momentum from last week, take that back home, and complete the sweep. Here we go, Steelers. Let's get this dub. See you in the next one.
And like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!